If everyone could, thank you, Mayor. You might have to bring the crowd forward. Good morning, and welcome to our inaugural 2019 Legislative Forum this morning. We decided to take a little twist, and we have three very distinguished guests this morning. And it was a great time, we thought, to celebrate law enforcement in the Twin Counties. As you know, we have our new police chief, George Robinson, and he's already made the front page. And it was a phrase, Chief, that I haven't heard used probably since Chief Manley. And that's hammer down. Hammer time. Okay. And it was a hammer down. And they made a couple of significant raids. And that, as we know, will keep, hopefully, Judge Wiggins a little less occupied in the future. Also, Clee with us this morning, who's no stranger to us. He has been with the Highway Patrol and with the Governor's Office for years, and I think it was 2017 that the Sheriff was appointed in Edgecombe County and was officially elected in 18, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you. He also, I have said for quite a while now, that we have, and yes, I'm biased, I think the two best sheriffs in the state. Apparently, I'm not the only one with that thought, as the sheriff was awarded, I think, last week, the North Carolina Sheriff of the Year. So congratulations. And in the middle, and certainly last but by no means least, is no stranger to any of us for the right reasons, thank goodness, is Sheriff Keith Stone, Nash County. Sheriff Stone has done an amazing job in his time as sheriff here. We thank you. One thing I've noticed with our two sheriffs as a common thread other than obvious law enforcement, and that's both of them make no excuses, don't cover anything up. It is what it is. And this man, if he had frequent flyer mileage on some of his trips to get some more guests of Nash County in place, we certainly have a lot. Could probably take a nice trip to Europe. But anyway, Keystone, we thank you for what you've done. You have helped bring in some people who, just in the last 2 weeks, were violent criminals. They were recaptured. One is being investigated for double homicide. And we thank you. We all sleep better at night knowing the three of you were watching over us. I was asked last week about our three law enforcement and what they would do with crime. Well, I can't answer that. Because as we all know, if one of us in this room is going to do something, one of us is going to shoot somebody today. You can have a police officer on every corner of the city and every crossroad in each county, and this will still happen. Now, I'd hate to have any, or now what we see, all three of these gentlemen and their officers coming after me. I'd stand no chance. And so we thank you and your team for your service. What we're going to do now, we're going to have a blessing, and then we will ask that you allow our three guests to go first through the breakfast line, and then please follow. Thank you. Mark?
Good morning. If we bow our heads, let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for the opportunity to gather here today as a community who values safety and respects those leaders like George Robinson, Clee Atkinson, and Keith Stone, who are dedicated to make it possible. We thank you for that comfort and for the other many blessings that we have here in our Twin Counties. But for all the confidence we place in them to serve and shield us from harm, Lord, we know that it is you that are our ultimate protector. As written in Psalms 27, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Of whom shall I be afraid? We pray today that you'll continue to guide our local law enforcement officials and wrap them in your protective care in every situation they face. Be among our conversations this morning, and we bless this food to the nourishment of our bodies so it may serve you better. Amen.
Please enjoy your breakfast. Gentlemen. If I could have everyone's attention for just a moment, please. Thank you. Please continue your breakfast if you want seconds. We have it. We're really not starting the program. We've got several announcements I want to make in respect for our law enforcement officers' time and your time. I felt like this would be a good time to kind of shoehorn this in. Anyway, again, I do want to welcome y'all. I'd like at this time to recognize our law enforcement, EMS, fire and rescue, if they would stand. Also with us this morning, we have the Honorable Superior Court Judge Lamont Wiggins. Judge Wiggins. And I'd like also to recognize all of our elected officials. We have one gentleman over here, Ricky Parks, who's no stranger to anybody unless you've just moved here in the last 22 minutes. Ricky does an outstanding job with security and protecting primarily our Superior Court judges in Raleigh. And Ricky, we thank you for your service. A little side note on this, when we were going to Raleigh to meet with the Council of State on the DMV project, Ricky said there's certain things I can and can't do, which I certainly understand. He said, but I can get you one fine parking place. We're in the Council of State's quarters in this room. To put it in perspective, you walk out to the parking lot, that's where we were. And as you know, parking in Raleigh, the Dobbs building is on the tail end of government offices. It takes you about 4 years to get a parking place. And then another hour to walk down there. So Ricky, you were the man of the hour. Also, Representative Gilliard was a tremendous help. We put together some documents, information, and letters, and Representative, please stand. He and his staff hand-delivered to each person, each member of the Council of State, what we thought was a very important and strong letter of endorsement with numerous signatures. He stepped up on Valentine's Day and spent 2 hours talking to members of the Department of Motor Vehicles, the staff, not senior management, on his own. We didn't ask him to. He went down there and talked to them. Representative Gilliard and others at Rocky Mount were tireless in the effort to help us land the Department of Motor Vehicles, which we hope will be here in the fall of 2020. Is that right, Norris?
About that time.
And on behalf of one of our groundbreaking projects, Norris Tolson did something that I'm not sure anybody ever thought after the fiasco in Johnson County involving CSX. Norris took it upon himself and was able to recruit CSX, which also led to Triangle Tire and will lead to others, for their intermodal, bless you. It obviously, no pun intended, went off the tracks for a while. A lot of people gave up and said, here we go again. He and the state government and the governor of the General Assembly worked it out. And I want you to get your calendars out and mark down April 24th, North Carolina Wesleyan College, 12:30. CSX will have their official groundbreaking for that project. And Norris, we thank you for your tireless work on that, DMV, Corning, and so many other projects. Thank you. I'm going to call on Kimberly Huff, then I'm going to hush and I'm going to sit down and you can continue to eat until David Joyner takes over. Kimberly, stand up, please. There are 3 guests at her table, and I would like you to introduce and tell where they're from.
I have Catherine. She is in charge of fighting crime on Facebook. She does a brilliant job of keeping the community involved and informed. She works with our sheriff's department in our city of Rocky Mount and getting everything covered and making sure everything is truthful and everything is clean out there, making sure everybody is served properly. But Catherine, stand up, and she brought her 2 sons.
Her sons are students at Northern Nash, is that correct? Yes, sir. Okay, good deal. Thank y'all. One final comment, because I know sometimes people have to slip out early. In June, we are going to host a legislative forum made up of as many of our representatives in Raleigh from Nash and Edgecombe County. So Desiree will be posting that information, a little bit later, but we're really excited about that. So please enjoy your breakfast, and Mr. Joyner will take over in a few minutes.
Good morning. If I can have your attention, please, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you all for being here. Just so you know how this is going to work, we're going to, after we do the panel discussion, we're going to take a few minutes for questions. We only have this mic, so you're going to have to stand up where you are, and if you'd like a question, I'll call on you, and then and we'll get it from there. Please, as always, it'd be great if your question was related to why we're actually here. That'd be great. And
Thank you.
No speeches, just questions, as always. Also, for those, I've had a lot of people already ask me about it and make jokes about it. The blood splotch on my eyes, and I get in a fight. They called me because they were in a bind, and I helped. There was 10 guys, and it was one of me. So thank you. Always happy to serve. Their bios were all about 8 pages long, so they have told me that I didn't have to read those. So what we're going to do, I'm just going to read briefly an introduction from their bio for all of them. I'll start with Chief Robertson, who just was appointed, and give him another round of applause. Chief has worked with the Rocky Mount Police Department since 1992 when he started as a police officer in the Patrol Service Division. Since that time, the Shaw University graduate has climbed up the ranks, working as a community policing officer, police corporal in the Uniform Operations Division, police detective in the Criminal Investigative Division, police sergeant in the Uniform Operations Division, a criminal investigation supervisor, lieutenant and support services commander, patrol services commander, administrative police captain, and criminal investigative division captain. Robinson served as interim police chief from January 1st, 2019 to March 11th, 2019 when he was appointed to the permanent position of chief. Sheriff Clee Atkinson Jr. has been a resident of Edgecombe County for over 20 years. He is married and has 1 son. Sheriff Atkinson is a member of Thorns Chapel Missionary Baptist Church, where he serves as a youth advisory chairperson and as a member of the usher board. He is a graduate of Ralph L. Fife High School in Wilson, North Carolina, as well as a graduate of Lenore Ryan College in Hickory, North Carolina. Before being elected as sheriff of Edgecombe County in November 2018 and appointed as sheriff on April 3rd, 2017, he was a master trooper with the North Carolina State Highway Patrol. Sheriff Atkinson began his law enforcement career with the Highway Patrol in February 1997, where he was assigned to work at Edgecombe County. In January 2013, he was assigned to executive security for the governor of North Carolina. Sheriff Keith Stone started his career in law enforcement in 1984 as a jailer with the Robertson County Sheriff's Office. He was certified as a deputy in 1986 and remained in that capacity until he became a member of the North Carolina Highway Patrol in 1987. Keith Stone retired from the North Carolina State Highway Patrol. In 2012, he holds an Associate of Science degree in Law Enforcement Technology. He also graduated with honors and holds a Bachelor of Science degree in Criminal Justice Administration, a Master's degree in Business Administration, and he is a graduate of the Southern Police Institute graduate program. Can we give all three of them another great round? So what we're going to start with first is just I'll do a quick intro as far as the priorities that they're focused on right now, but what we wanted to start with at their request with Chief Robinson just being appointed as Chief of Police, Sheriff Stone and Sheriff Atkinson wanted to talk about why they're excited about that appointment and their strong endorsement of that. So whichever one of you want to come up first.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Joyner. As I said earlier, I've been here 27 years. I come from a long history of law enforcement. My father has served 40 years between Dunn Police Department and Durham Police Department. I have a brother and sister that are with the Fayetteville Police Department. They both have over 20 years. I have a brother that served 25 years in the United States Army. He's presently with the Highway Patrol for the last 15 years. He's also on that governor's task, government security detail. To be honest, I had intentions of retiring this year. My wife and I have wrote out different things that I was going to do and pointed out some things around the house. We recently moved and we plan to take a couple of trips. But I served as interim, and those first 2 to 3 months kind of changed my life. I felt like the Lord had told me I needed more to do because we had shootings. My first time being the chief, and I said, wow. I said, I'm ready to go. But then I started thinking, there's something else left to be done. Our community needs someone that's passionate and that really cares about what's going on. And I felt like I was that person. So I put my name in the hat, and I stayed with the afternoon to Rocky Mount Police Chief. Well, the main thing about being a police chief that I learned is make sure you treat people with dignity and self-respect. My past chief, Chief Moore, sent me to Boston University where I attended the Police Executive Research Forum. There I met Chief Charles Ramsey. Chief Ramsey was to me, in my opinion, one of the best chiefs in the country. Chief Ramsey has a way of talking with people, and he learned it from an officer named Ferris. Pat could go to any situation and talk to anyone. It could be a violent shooting or search warrant or raid, but Ferris had the ability to go talk to people. And Chief Ramsey asked me one day, how is it that you can communicate so well with anyone? And he said, Chief, it's very simple. It's just three different simple steps. He says, it starts off with life. He said, whenever you're born, you're a perfect 10. He said, being that life is temporary, go ahead and take away 3 years. He said, if you came up in a dysfunctional family and your mother and father were in domestic violence or drug abuse, go ahead and take away 3 more points and make the person 4. If you're part of a minority group and didn't get the same privileges as the other group, go ahead and take away 3 more points. And that's 1 point, and that is dignity and self-respect. And he said, no matter what, we have a job to do as police officers, but don't ever attack someone's dignity and self-respect because they will fight for that 1 point that they have in their life. I can tell the community without a question I have the proper police force. My command staff, Captain Marty Clee, Captain Michael Paul, Captain Mike Whitley, and Lieutenant Don Moses, who served as envoy. They're second to none. We've been working together for years. We're kind of like a family. We're a team. We know each other's weaknesses, and we work together, not as individuals, but as a team, as we work to solve the problems in our community. As police chief, I know that we're public servants. We must provide this community with a safe environment, no matter their economic differences or circumstances. Our residents are important, no matter their backgrounds. We should treat everyone fairly. I will hold my officers accountable to ensure that they treat people fairly. We offer them training such as fair and impartial policing, fair and impartial procedure rights and procedure justice. We teach that every year. Presently, I'm pursuing accreditation. Rocky Mount Police Department has never been accredited. Thanks to Ms. Smalltone, who's not here with us today, for giving this opportunity. She allowed me to go to full-time accreditation manager as we seek to raise the Rocky Mount Police Department standards. Accreditation is something that I think will make our whole community proud. As a police department, as it relates to crime, these two men right here have always been with me before they were sheriffs. As highway patrol, they would come to my assistance. We was on the reclamation team. Whenever we had a situation, they were always there. Ever since I've been in this position as chief, they have been there to support me, and I hope they can say that I've been there to support me. We're a team. I believe throughout the years we build those relationships, and I think about they've always been there. And not just on criminal activity, but on community events and community initiatives. Next Friday, if you can mark this on your calendars, we need volunteers at the Special Needs Easter egg hunt. Both Sheriff Stone and Atkinson have given us money and also volunteers to assist with that program. Last year there were 180 special needs kids. This year we're expecting over 200, and both of them have stepped up to the table. I can tell this community without a doubt that we're doing good work. Just last month, my department received over 28 handguns off the street, illegal handguns. And I think that we probably say something like we can't count those facts, but I know we did. It's with the help of these two men here. We have a lot of things planned for this summer. School is about to be out. We're implementing a police athletic league to give our youth something to do. Police athletic league is not only basketball and football, but it also deals with creative arts and dancing and things of that nature. So we're going to put that into play. June 8th, we're going to start with a basketball program. I'm excited. My staff is excited. We're excited. And I think y'all will see some great things from both all agencies.
I'm going to echo the words real quick. Chief Robinson is not only an outstanding pick, he's a hometown guy. You can't beat that when you've got sincerity of the work in the community. When you have to leave and go to another community, you might go work there, but you don't live there, it makes a difference. I commend Rocky Mountain to the shores. What an awesome pick. I also want to recognize somebody else. I know this is not a political event, but it is a legislative. Reverend Gilliard, what an awesome job you're doing up there. He calls me quite often, wanting to know about the different issues, what's going on. That speaks volumes of our community, of what we're putting together, and it's just a start. Talk about the law enforcement front. We've been very busy. We had a shooting at the first of the year where an officer had to take someone's life, which is always very tough. Then we've had a jailbreak, and then we've had this double homicide that we're working, possibly double, I know of, at least right now, one homicide. Thank you, Chief Atkinson, or Sheriff Atkinson, and our new Chief Robinson. This last homicide, the crime techs come from both the police department, my sheriff's office, and Edgecombe County, and did a job that is unreal and second to none across this country with forensics and just the police work that was put together to solve this crime. That's what it takes to keep you safe, is everybody working together. And I said, we're here, we're focused. Our focus with Nash County Sheriff's Office, I'm going to echo the words of Clee, it's all about the guns. Gangs, guns, and drugs. If we get these guns off the street, the violence stops. If you look at the newspaper, what is the #1 detriment of keeping people up at night, scared to go to a business, or reluctant to come somewhere? Is violence. And when you compound that with a firearm, that's where the real scare of the community comes from. Our focus is not only getting these guns off the street, but it's probably 1 to 2% of the people that's the real problems. Get them in these federal courts, 120 days, you're usually convicted and sentenced. You can pull about 90% of your sentence. These criminals know that the federal system works and get our community back on track. But guns, gangs, and drugs, both of these people are committed to that. We're committed to it, and we're here for you. So thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. I showed up today to show my support for Chief Robinson and the Rocky Mountain Police Department. Myself and Sheriff Stone, we are great partners with Chief Robinson and the Rocky Mountain Police Department. Guys, all of us in this room are charged to improve the lives of the people that we serve. You guys agree? Yes. That's what we're charged with. And so we hold no grudges. We all talk to one another. We text one another. And we rely on each other to make sure we keep all these guys safe. Chief Robinson said it best. Sheriff Stone said it best. We are charged with leading our communities, making sure we improve the lives, and we speak for the people that can't speak for themselves. That's what all of us are in here charged with. You guys agree? There are some people that are in here that can't speak, that don't have a voice, so we are their voices. I enjoy doing law enforcement beside these two gentlemen. We're texting all night long. When I talk to Sheriff Stone and Chief Robinson, I said, man, 8 o'clock, I don't get them moving too well before 8 o'clock. Because I stay up late, it's a running joke, I stay up late, and Sheriff Stone wakes up first thing in the morning. These guys wake up first thing in the morning. Listen, let's do things the right way. We've got some great leadership in this area. And across the state, this is not just a regional thing. Across the state of North Carolina, people know there's a driving force coming out of Rocky Mount, Nash, and Edgecombe County, and we need you guys' support. So can we have you guys support? Thank you guys so much.
All right, so next we wanted to talk about what we talked about briefly earlier, the perception of crime versus actual crime. There's actually a 2017 Urban Institute study, and they tracked in a lot of larger major cities across the country how the number of homicides affected, the perception of it affected retail business growth, and how the number of violent crime records affected economic development. And in here, not in here, but in our region, that's been an ongoing battle, stating the facts versus at the same time, alarm that is not measurable, in conjunction to the facts. And I know that's a challenge, particularly for law enforcement leaders. It's also a challenge a lot of times politically and the pressures that come down with that. So I wanted the three of you to talk about that and ways that the business community especially can help you in advocating or at times calming people down so that you can do your jobs effectively. And I'll just pass this so you don't have to get up.
I'm gonna leave it up here, see here. The perception is very strong here. If you look across the country, we don't have any more crime than these other areas. I hear it all the time about the crime in Rocky Mount. We go to association meetings and me and Clee get beat up on it all the time, talking about the crime here. I can tell you the crime here is no more than it is in Greenville, no more it is in Wilson, no more it is in any other community. But I can tell you what we do have. We've got a solvability rate that is very high. We've got criminals now that will tell you they'll be in other counties, but they're not dealing drugs in our area here because the Strong River Task Force going back and forth with them. The biggest thing that the community can do is support law enforcement. Without the support of the community, you've got to work with us so that we can have the tools and the people that we need, the professionals, to be able to do the duty. Support us in our funding. We're not up here for ourselves. We're here for the community. And the way that we do that is through good training, good education, and being able to hire good people and have funding. One of the last endeavors we just jumped on was a NIBUS machine. Rocky Mount could not afford it by themselves. We definitely couldn't afford it. Edgecombe County couldn't afford it. But we partnered up and bought this new instrument that can track these shell casings that are left at crime scenes. And you say, well, what good is that? Because it's less than 1% of the people out here that shoot them. And at the end of the day, when we're putting this type of stuff out here in the streets and being able to solve crime, it's a lot. But it takes a strong business or a strong tax base to be able to support those things. And it's you in here that's got to support us so that we can do our job. Thank you.
And I just want to speak briefly. Guys, this is a great community to live in. You guys agree?
Yes.
And so we've got to continue to partnership with our business leaders. Let me tell you, the perception is really, really big. At the end of the day, we can't continue to beat each other up in the media. We can't continue to beat each other up on social media. Y'all looking at me like I'm crazy, but you know it's the truth. Because what we put on social media and in the media, it goes across America. And Chief Robinson and Sheriff Stone is right. When we go travel across the state, they have the same issues, but guess what? They don't beat each other up. They have the same issues. And me and Sheriff Stone, we get quiet like, woo, we don't have it as bad as we think we do. And let me share this. He echoed on something I had to stand up on. I'm dealing with a homicide, and we need the community support. We are only as good as the community supports us. We're only as good. That's why when I see things, when the chief get beaten up in media, Sheriff Stone get beat. Look, I defend that because I know what they feel like. At the end of the day, I'm dealing with a homicide, and the first thing that family said, they said, do your job. And we know they have knowledge of the homicide. But we go in the community and say, y'all do y'all job first, then we'll help you. What is this? What is this? And we're dealing with a mentality like no other. I'm talking all across America. And until we change how we're thinking in our homes and in our communities, law enforcement, we got a tough battle. So that's why we need you guys' support. We've got to change our thought process when it comes to economics. Because we are on the front lines. We've got to change our thought process because it's not about Chief Robinson and Sheriff Stone and Sheriff Atkinson. This is about we need funding for training. Right now, I got to leave and go to training down in Pines. Sheriff Stone, one of these guys is training us. It takes funding to do that. Guess what? In order to keep professional folk, you need professional money.
Come on now.
And I can only echo what you've already heard. Perception is just that, perception. We have to do a better job of selling our story, and that's one thing that I'm working on with our social media contacts. We do great work around here. Whenever you see a negative story, counteract it. I wish I could, but I can't. So I got to work on the office to keep my job a little longer. But counteract it. Talk about all the success. This is a great community, and it has been great to me and my family. Most of my shootings, all of them are connected. There's not a bandit running around shooting at people. They're all connected. Most of it's gang related. To be honest. But we have to work together, tell like real stories, and let's back away from the negative.
Segueing to regionalism, I think it's fair to say you three are probably the best shining example from an institutional level consistently that work together. That is, as we've seen recently in media reports, it is an ongoing battle and conversation here to have our institutional leaders understand that importance and not have very short-sighted views as it relates to long-term strategies and tactics that benefit the entire region in a measurable way. The Tar River Regional Task Force, I remember that was started, so I'll start with you, Sheriff Stone, on the importance of it and how the cooperation allows you to effectively do your job.
The importance of it is, these railroad tracks over here, you cross over it every day and don't think about it. We as law enforcement used to have to stop there. Criminal goes back and forth across it. With our last homicide, our body is dumped in Edgecombe County. The murder occurs in Nash County. He drives through Rocky Mountain. It's a perfect example of why we've got to work together. But also on our task force and just in general, not even part of this, Rocky Mountain has 2 members assigned to the ATF task force. That's alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. That's one of the large things, as my focus this year is on these guns. I have to rely on him for his resources. I have a member on the FBI task force, so when there's something dealing with that, they can reach across the aisle to us. Edgecombe County's putting one on the Drug Enforcement Administration. That helps the whole region because we get all this federal help from here. I would like to commend these 3 in the last homicide when we were doing a manhunt. If you didn't recognize the number of law enforcement across America that come to support us in our endeavor of capturing this fugitive is unheard of, and how quick this was done before we got to the Mexican border. Don't take that as just haphazardly happening. That happens because of the partnership of these people, what we put together. Last week with this jail escape, we had 4 FBI agents on the ground here immediately. That was unheard of 20 years ago. Chief Williams, the senior chief here, man, what he brought to help build these 2 agencies together, or 3 agencies now, that is the type of law enforcement that helps. And this Tar River Task Force here is working with Nash, Edgecombe, Wilson. It brings unity in law enforcement. and it brings the criminals to justice quicker because we don't have these boundaries. But that's what we're all about. Thank you.
And Sheriff Stone is right. When it comes to us partnership and doing things together, that is big, because the bad guy thinks that way. The bad guy thinks, well, if I can just get into the city of Rocky Mount on the Nash County side, that Edgecombe County Sheriff's Office won't come on there. But it's just a phone call, or vice versa. Rocky Mount will come down into Edgecombe, and what we do is we give each other courtesy calls. Because we don't want our Rocky Mount guys fighting out in the county, and we don't know that they're out there. So Chief Robinson will call and say, hey, Sheriff, we'll be 3 miles outside in the county, so we'll at least know that they're. Sheriff Stone will say, hey, we'll be 15 miles in the Edgecombe County. Come on, if you're looking for them, come get them. Same thing what we do. We give each other a courtesy call and say, here we come. Guys, what you're seeing up here today, we don't get into and I don't know if this is an opinion contest, because sometimes as a department head, you can get involved in that and just, don't you come over here and I won't come over there. The bad guy wins if we allow that to happen.
That's right.
And what you're seeing right here, we will not allow that to happen. And furthermore, we do it in Wilson and Martin and Franklin. So we give each other a courtesy call, say, look, we're bringing 4 guys and here we come. And that's we're going to give you 4, let's go get them. So we've got a great working atmosphere to make sure the bad guys don't win in our area, and Nash is coming right through. Thank you.
And one thing, you'll be hard pressed to find agencies that work as close as we do. You can go throughout the state. And I think the unique thing about us, we work together so long, and I sort of feel like they're family as well as friends. And I think that is the difference with this administration that we have now. I just want to make that comment.
Okay, now we'll do a few questions from the audience. So if you'll just raise your hand if you have a question, and state your name and speak loud enough for us to hear you. Yes.
We have criminals that go to jail, go to prison, and they come out, and next thing you know, they're committing a crime with a firearm. I'm just wondering, how can we keep firearms out of people who don't supposed to have them? I know one thing they do, they break in houses, homes, and steal weapons. That's one way to get them. But it seems like some way we can reduce criminals from getting guns again and committing crimes, and sometimes homicides.
I'm going to ask the audience here, how do you think the number one way these people are getting these firearms? But where are they stealing them from?
Family.
A lot of them is from family, but no, I would say the majority of them are coming out of unlocked cars. Yeah, I teach you carry concealed, but the thing is I tell everybody, it's the safety part of it. If you're going to have to be responsible enough to carry a firearm, be responsible enough to lock your door. They pop the lock and then you're embarrassed because your gun's gone, you don't tell anybody, and then this gun's on the street, and then our new NIBUS machine picks up this, and we come knock on your door. Well, I didn't even know it was gone. Now, we've spent 3 weeks out here looking for tracking down where this come from. But one of the good things that we have, and Commissioner Belfield, thank you for the support that you give our office, is the federal connection we've got. And I'm gonna keep going back to that. I was talking to an individual yesterday, bringing him back here. Firearms, in charge with different firearms, a perfect example is when a man goes into our state courts, it's just overwhelmed, we have a lot going on. Our district attorney's office needs more manpower, our judges need more judges, because we need to be able to get these people into court. When you're putting off a sentence for 3 or 4 months to basically 2 years, when I was a child, if my dad told me he was going to spank me tomorrow, I knew I could finagle around and get out of that. But if I knew, well, as soon as you get home, you go to your room, there won't no playing. That's what we've got to go back to with criminals. It's got to be sincere, and it's got to be soon. And if you'll put that in the state court systems, that'll work. And that's what you have got to stand here to do. The federal court systems can do that, and it works. We can do that. But we're only concentrating on that 1 to 2%. It's not, as Chief said a while ago, a bandit running around here shooting people. It's all gang and gun related. But what happens is good people get caught up in it when they're ride-bys and all these other things. But we're focused on that, and I don't see the rise in the violence and the shooting right now. And I think that that's because we're dedicated to it. And as the chief just did this hammer time thing, it looks small, but it has a big impact because we know who to go after. We just want the support of the public when we go after them. And when you and your family members are on juries, you do what you're supposed to do and support law enforcement. Thank you.
And Commissioner, just to add to that, you said, well, how did they get back on the street? I'm sitting in my office 2 weeks ago, and they said, Sheriff, a validated gang member wants to speak to you outside. Not a problem. We've been doing this a long time. So I go outside to speak to the validated gang member, and unbeknownst to me, there's a decent, law-abiding citizen turning in her CCW application. And I'm outside talking to the validated gang member, and guess who comes out and hugs him? Sheriff, this is my girlfriend. And guess what? She's a decent, law-abiding citizen that I won't be able to see anything on her background. But when she came out and talked to the validated, we know him in Rocky Mount, and Edgecombe and Nash. He goes under the radar, Commissioner. He goes on, but now guess who has the final say on the sign off? It's me. If they would have never showed me that, I would have never saw that. But now I see the connection. So guess what? Guns are being connected to good people. We're dealing with some smart people out on the street. And it just so happened I was able to walk out and talk to him. We had built a relationship with this guy. But guess what? That young lady signing that, and she's under the radar, she's a law-abiding, good citizen, been raised right, has connected to that world. And guess what? That's how some of these guns are getting on the street also. Good people are buying and giving them to their boyfriends and girlfriends. We got to keep that in mind.
And also, Commissioner, if you have someone that's a repeat offender and they keep being charged with the same thing, we seek to go after them federally. I have 2 ATF agents. I have about 17 that we're looking at heavy now because they are repeat offenders. If we can go after them with federal charges, that will give them more time in prison if they continue the same behavior.
I think we got time for about one more guest.
Yes.
I'll do you and then I'll do 2 more. Sorry.
You know, I hear people all the time asking, what can you all do? And it frustrates me.
Mm-hmm.
What can the community do? You know, we know who the criminals are. We know we got some bad kids. We know where the problem is. So, you know, we want y'all to do a job. You all are, what, reactionary. You know, like someone said earlier, you can't be everywhere all the time. So we got to stop this mess about what can you all do. We got to support you all. We ain't crazy. And the other thing is, I talk to people all the time, and they talking about Rocky Mount and you know, what a problem. Well, the problem is that, you know, they make you afraid to even come to Rocky Mount. Try to make you afraid. But the problem is, it's not at random. Like someone said it earlier, these guys know who they are. So why are you scared? If you're scared, then you got a problem. I'm not scared, especially church folk. Where's your faith? I mean, I'm not scared to come. I've been working over here for 32 years. I come over here. I'm not afraid. I'm not a part of a gang. So why am I afraid? But let's stop putting the myth out there that it's not unsafe to come to Rocky Mount. Rocky Mount is a great place. I don't live here. Been working here 32 years in community organizations and stuff. I am dedicated to Rocky Mount, and I'm going to take off work this morning to come and go to work when I leave here because I'm dedicated. I get sick of the myths out here. So I'm going to be a voice for you all.
Okay, thank you. I think Mayor Conley, Councilman.
Just a question in terms of statistics, because people get caught up on the statistics, and I guess it's all crime reported apples to apples across the country, and you're seeing comparisons, are they all the same?
I'll touch on that. I don't think we have a serious problem. Nash County had 1 murder this year. I mean, that's unreal. We've got 100,000 people over here. I think we had 1 or 2 last year. I'm not seeing the criminal, and here's where it would worry me as the public. If you were having this crime and it won't be investigated and solved, but the solvability rates here are great. These federal task forces are working in here. I think we've put together a very good program, and it's going well. And I think even the media, now something can happen tomorrow, you'll mark my words and you'll play it 100 times. But at the end of the day, we're taking care of the citizens, and the crime is not as high as what people think it is. And when it is, it's being solved and it's being dealt with. But it's no more here than it is in Wilson, Greenville, Raleigh, Durham, Lumberton, North Carolina, where I come from. Those areas have the same thing. But I think a lot of it's been hyped up with other things. But when it's time to worry is when it's something continuing, nobody's doing anything about it. But I can tell you, with these two men right here working with me, they're dedicated to taking care of it. I receive phone calls 10, 11 o'clock at night from these guys. What's going on, what we need to do. You have sincere law enforcement here, believe me. Thank you.
And Mayor, I know we had some issues in the past that relates to stats, but we are reporting crimes correctly. But I've never really been a fan of stats. If you don't feel comfortable walking outside of your home, going to the mall with your family, going to Walmart, going to the park, that means we still have a lot of work to do. Right. Just want to make that comment.
I wanted to ask about the status of the case, and I know that you quickly solved the murder of the Skeltons, Jackie and Garrett Skelton, but when do you expect that to come to trial?
Here shortly. I think the state is, and let me share this in that case in trying to be fair to the family. Have you guys ever felt evil? Well, on that scene in that yard that day, I never really felt evil to the capacity that I felt it on those grounds that day. That's the kind of things that we feel and we see that we don't share. And this is an intimate conversation. So to answer your question, that's coming up shortly, but I know one thing I know the state is trying to pursue the death penalty. And let me share this, just out of respect to the families. A lot of things happened, we were able to heal. That family helped us as law enforcement heal. And they shared some things with me, and that's what people really don't see. They shared some things with me, and I never forget it when Pastor was doing the eulogy. They made law enforcement heal, and they made that family heal. And so it's coming up shortly to kind of skate around it a little bit. But pray for us and pray for Skelton family, because I never felt evil to the capacity I felt that day. I could feel it, just didn't know what it was. But we're dealing, guys, with an evil mindset that we've got to help pray and change. And that's what we're tasked with, guys, I'm telling you. We see things at 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning you guys can't even imagine. You guys can't even think. My brother's back there shaking their head. You guys can't even imagine. So then day in and day out, we got to crank it up and do the same thing the next day. These guys have taught me, when I have dealt with tragedy such as that one, and that was a tough one, they say, hey, let's move on, because something else is going to happen next. And that's tough to deal with sometimes as a CEO, or chief, or sheriff, to deal with when people are hurting, and you know as a sheriff, you gotta push to the next one, because something will happen the next day or the next week. So we're praying for that family. That's an awesome family. Praying also for the people that done this, that family, because guess what? Everybody needs healing. But I never felt evil as much as I felt that day going on that. So I'm glad you asked that question. Let's pray for that family. Okay?
Last question from Doris.
Thank you, Dave. I don't want to ask you a question. I just want to address the audience to say, right now, we do economic development for Edgecombe and Nash County, Rocky Mount, Tarboro. We, as kids would say, we're ripping it right now. The two counties are doing extremely well. We're working about 50 projects in Edgecombe and Nash County now. Most of those, by the way, in Nash County. But economic development these days is being done over the internet. But by the time a consultant calls us to say, I want to see a piece of your dirt, as Alan Matthews will tell you, he already knows, or she already knows more about this area than we know about it most of the time. And the reason I want to say that to y'all is I want to say to these gentlemen, consultants don't bring clients to communities that aren't safe. They don't bring clients to communities where they don't believe their staff and their help and their companies can grow and prosper. And they don't, so they don't bring their clients to a community that has problems. Now, as both of these sheriffs have said and the chief has said, everybody's got challenges in law enforcement. That's not a new thing. But we are doing very, very well now because this community is as the kids would say, we're ripping it. There are a lot of really good things going on. And you're going to see, as I have said many times, even at this meeting before, David, that you look at Rocky Mount 5 years from now, and those of you who've lived here all your life, you won't recognize it. You can feel it in the air. I've said to the mayor as late as yesterday, you can feel it in the air. We're doing a new video that's going to promote the two counties. We at the partnership going to promote the two counties and the cities that support the partnership. And it is awesome. I'm telling you, all we've done is taken footage around the communities in the Edgecombe and Nash County and Rocky Mount. And when you just look at it, there's not a word in the video, but when you look at it, if you don't come away excited, you better go get your heart checked. Thank you
All right.
for what y'all do. I really do appreciate it.
One, I can honestly say I never thought I'd hear Nora say we're ripping it, so that made my day. Exactly. And two, just, on a personal note, as we're wrapping up, the week of March 21st was the anniversary of my brother's murder here in Rocky Mount, and I try as much as I can to be a consistent advocate for Rocky Mount, but I can say the thing that was so helpful to my family during that time, the 3 agencies across the board, the phone calls, the detectives that showed up at the funeral that I didn't even know, the detective that popped into the ADA's office while I was sitting there, and because my family had to leave because they couldn't handle it, and so I was navigating it for them. We really are blessed to have some good law enforcement leaders and the caring nature that they have. And of course we need to continue to debate and talk about the challenges and things, but I think in our community, we especially need to be proud and also look at the example of business leaders of how they work together and how they get it done together. And also I want to say, can we give the Rocky Mount Chamber staff and David Ferris a great hand?
And speaking of giving hands, I'd like to close this out. We have a lot of leadership in this room. There's a lot of passion and there's a lot of compassion. And by your presence here and those who weren't able to attend, we are, as a chamber, as the Carolinas Gateway Partnership, as our law enforcement goes, we are able to improve the quality of life in the Twin County area. And that means a lot. We all know we have serious issues, not only in Nash and Edgecombe and Rocky Mount, the communities that make up the counties, but throughout the state and throughout the nation. And those issues call for serious leadership. And I sleep a whole lot better at night knowing these 3 men and their support teams, their fellow officers are watching over us, and we thank you.
Thank you.
And we pray for you each and every day. Also, Pfizer, who, as we all know, is a large employer here. And the Pfizer plant here is extremely important to hospitals up and down the East Coast. They always answer when it comes to helping out the community. And Marty Neely and his team have continuously supported our forums, our legislative forums. And that enables us to bring you not only elected officials, but also our law enforcement. It's important to Pfizer, it's important to the communities that they serve, and we thank them. And please thank them when you see them. Also, Lisa Ferguson, the Holiday Inn and their staff always do a great job for us out here. I've said it time and time again, Lisa's probably, her nightmares are either Desiree or myself calling and saying, Lisa, can you squeeze one more in? And she just shakes her head. It happens, but we do thank you. Lastly, David, thank you for always being there to help moderate and lead things. You do it with a very professional touch. I was fortunate to be with David as he was a keynote speaker a couple of weeks ago in Zebulon at their annual Chamber of Commerce meeting. I wish I had a video and could show that to you. It was amazing. He talked about economic development. He had the skin knocked off the ball before it went over the pitcher's mound. David, thank you again. I thank each and every one of you for your support. And I hope you have a great day, a safe day, a great weekend. Weather's beautiful today. Tomorrow, I don't know, but I think the weekends could be nice. But thank each and every one of you for attending, and thank you all again.
Thank you.
We got